Have you ever had that feeling where you can hear your profit margin evaporate? When a major mistake happens, the natural human reaction is a spike in blood pressure and a desire to find someone to blame. That reaction is exhausting because it requires an immense amount of emotional energy for very little ROI. Today, we are looking at a way to stay calm, protect the project profit, and ensure a $50,000 failure doesn't deconstruct your personal focus. When everything hits the pavement, your response determines whether you are panicking or leading. This is a significant opportunity to pause for a moment. Take a step back. Look at the overall big picture. We have to recognize that a failure is a necessary part of growth. It is the moment where we can quickly problem solve and use that setback to build new systems that make us better in the future. We had waited 6 weeks for a glass order. The schedule was tight and the weather was closing in. When the truck arrived on Tuesday morning, our project team felt a sense of relief. We thought the difficult part was over and we could finally close the envelope of the building. 5 minutes later, it sounded like a heavy impact. A member of our self-perform crew was unloading the pallet. He was too ambitious. He didn't have a proper spotter, and he hadn't secured the rigging. He thought that he could keep the load steady by just moving as fast as possible. He was wrong. The entire pallet slid, tilted, and hit the asphalt. In 3 seconds, $50,000 turned into a pile of glass dust. I was working on the schedule when the superintendent called. I could hear the defeat in his voice before he even finished the sentence. He said, "The glass is gone. It's all over the lot." The old version of me would have reacted by feeling frustrated and not knowing immediately what to do or how to respond. Uncertainty is where panic can set in because you feel like you are losing control of the project. Instead of rushing out there to join the chaos, I took a single breath and realized the glass was already broken. The money was already gone. No amount of frustration in the parking lot was going to turn those shards back into windows. My job wasn't to be upset. It was to be the person who had the information to find a way out of the mess. I pulled up the original order and the vendor contact info. Most people start by asking, "Who did this?" I started by asking, what is the path forward to the quickest, acceptable solution? I wanted to be able to tell the owner it had happened, and the solution was already in motion in the same breath I used to explain the mistake. This allows you to lead the conversation with a plan rather than just delivering bad news. When I walked out to the parking lot, I made it a point to treat the workers with kindness and respect. Even in a frustrating situation, mistakes happen. And it is important to remember that we learn more from our failures than our successes if we handle them in the right way. Shaming someone who is already feeling terrible doesn't help the project, and it doesn't build a better team. I looked at the rigging and the forklift positioning not to find a culprit, but to understand where our process was weak. By reviewing this situation, I could work with our superintendent to adjust our standards for the next delivery. While others might still be spinning their wheels, an orderly leader is already halfway to the solution. This is how you reclaim your time, by solving the problem once instead of talking about it 10 times. Getting that information gave me the confidence to handle the next step. Because we were self-performing this work, there was no subcontractor to backcharge. This was a direct hit to our project profit. I opened our cost tracking and coded that $50,000 hit to our project contingency. This act of recording the loss is where we accept reality. We can't pretend the error didn't happen, and we have to start managing the consequences. Watching those numbers hits you hard. It's a reminder that as a leader, you are responsible for the resources of the project. This means taking full responsibility of what happens on your watch. That means admitting that when our oversight is lacking, we are not just losing money. We are missing an opportunity to enforce a higher standard. We often find that we learn more from these moments of failure than we do from our easy wins. This is where we earn our experience. Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it." That worker wasn't a bad person. He was just in a hurry, trying to be efficient. Profit fade is usually the result of moving too fast without a standard. As a leader, my job is to ensure we work correctly, even when it feels like it's slowing down the site. We have to do a better job at overseeing the work, or we are essentially authorizing the waste of our own hard-earned profit. We need to be the ones who provide the diligence to catch these errors before the glass hits the pavement. Once I had the solution in motion and the budget updated, I had the authority to have the real conversation with the crew. I didn't use it as an opportunity to shame them or vent my frustration. I used it as an opportunity to look at the impact. Because I was calm, the crew leader could hear the lesson instead of just hearing anger. By showing them exactly how the numbers were impacted, they realized the true weight of the mistake. After this situation, we implemented stronger, mandatory rigging methods. We didn't just reorder the glass. We fixed the leadership. We used the failure to build a better system. This is how failure becomes the foundation of a stronger team. When you lead with facts, you move the conversation away from emotion and towards improvement. When I left the site, I didn't bring that shattered glass with me. Because I had processed the failure through a system, I could disconnect. I knew the plan was in place, and the financial hit was documented. You can't lead a team if you are falling apart every time something goes wrong. If you lose your composure over an error, you have lost much more than just money. It is how we grow into better builders and find our personal peace. My challenge for you this week is simple. When the next mistake happens, and it will, don't race to the field. Pause for a moment and take a step back. Think about how you can be the best proactive leader of the project through the setback. Handling a $50,000 mistake is about reacting with order, but the best leaders prevent these moments by building a culture where the team keeps their promises. Check out my previous video outlining a 3-step system to lock in professional commitments and protect your schedule before your first delivery arrives. Build with order, and I will see you on the next one.